Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another installment of Out in the Woods, your favorite weekly podcast where me, Jacob, your friendly neighborhood host, interviews another queer Southern voice. Today, I have your favorite bad boy Marvel villain, the god of mischief, Loki. JK, it is not the god of mischief. This person unfortunately does not have a big money contract with Marvel Studios or Disney, but they are a very talented artist. Um, Loki Tyykila is in the house on Zoom with me right now. Loki, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic. Now, of course, your name is not spelled like Thor's evil brother. Yours has a
No.
special edition. It is a K in
Mine,
front of the L.
yes. Yes, I
And
wanted to keep my initials.
so whenever I came into the room audience and met Loki, I was like, "So is it Kloki?" And I was swiftly corrected. They were so nice to correct me as they did. But so what was the inspiration behind Loki for you, for your family?
So it was the name Loki was I actually chose the name Loki. So
Oh.
it was a joke that my friend had made. I was talking about how like people misinterpret the Marvel character as a villain. He's not a villain, he's an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend was like, Loki is a genderless ball of chaos. And I was like, that's it. That's my name now.
Oh my God, I love it. And so you just kept the K so you could keep your initials.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because my initials are cat, but with
Mm-hmm.
a K.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I sign my artwork and stuff. So I was like, I'll keep that. Let's keep that going.
Oh my God. First of all, love the initials. But second of all, I love that your chosen name. I just love it. I love that we can have really wonderful stories behind our chosen names. That's fantastic. So, Loki,
Mm-hmm.
tell my audience a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
Okay, so I am an artist and I've recently gotten into streaming on Twitch. I also stream on stereo, but I do paintings, I do drawings, I do funny little sculptures. And I'm 18. I graduated high school last year. Whew.
What a year to
And
graduate from high
I'm
school.
from, yeah, I'm from Wisconsin originally, but almost 5 years ago, I moved to Kentucky.
So you truly moved out in the woods. So y'all, I
Hmm.
know that Loki is an adopted Southern queer voice. Loki is a
Hmm.
transplant Southern queer because Loki all it take I mean really it doesn't take any time to get encroached in the southern
Hmm.
lifestyle. Once you come here, once you're here, you have to commit, otherwise you're gonna die, you're just gonna die.
Yep. I'm not transgender. No, I'm trans Southern.
There you that's almost far worse, but I guess your cooking does get better, in that regard.
Hmm.
Um, so, so when did you know that you were not straight? When did you know that you were different? When did you know that you were queer?
When I knew I was queer in about sixth grade, however, it should have been it should have been a little more obvious when I was a lot younger. Um, because funny story, I had this best friend. She was a girl. I'm a fab, and
Hmm.
we were best friends. And we were on the bus to school one day, and she turned to me, and I turned to her, and we were like, "I wonder what it's like to kiss a girl."
Oh my, that's how it
And we
always
kissed on
starts.
the bus. And I was like, yeah, that's a normal thing. That's definitely straight of me. And in 6th grade, I was like, that absolutely was not straight of me.
That is the slippery slope. That is 100% the slippery slope. The what is it like to kiss a girl? So, you've described yourself as agender, NBLW, and demisexual. Fantastic. You've got the whole buffet of sexuality right here at your fingertips. But, some of my audience members may not know exactly what those labels mean. Could you explain a little bit about those labels?
Of course. So agender is basically I don't have a gender alignment. It's like, like the Dungeons and Dragons, like chaotic, neutral, lawful, good, whatever. On that spectrum, I am no.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't. I guess you could say I don't understand the point, not the point, but the understanding of what gender is. I'm just existing against my will.
Okay. All right.
And NBLW, that basically means when a non-binary person prefers to only love women. Shout out to my amazing, beautiful girlfriend of 2 years. And demisexual means I don't feel sexual attractions unless I have like a strong emotional bond with someone.
So Tinder, what? Well, no, you have a girlfriend, so literally, like, you don't worry about Tinder. Do not worry about it. Okay.
I have a Tinder, but that was for something else. I was like, you know what? What if I just got a sugar daddy and called it a day?
Well, Tinder is not the place to look for sugar daddies.
No, I found that out.
I was gonna say these fuckboys, they do not have the money to spoil you with. I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. You will have to get your art projects funded some other way.
Yep. Now my grandma is funding them.
Well, that's good.
For now.
Well, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
She's a your grandma can be a sugar daddy that bakes you cookies, gives you money, and does not require anything but your love as a grandchild and affection. So there you go. There you go. You don't have the weird transactionary quality with your grandmother.
No, that would just be weird.
That would be an A24 movie waiting to happen. So
that would be a documentary series.
It would be. It would turn into a really dark Hulu Emmy-winning TV like short series.
Yeah.
So Loki, you are, like you said, you're originally from Wisconsin. Tell us a bit about the queer landscape in Wisconsin compared to the queer landscape in Kentucky.
The queer landscape in Wisconsin is funky because it's kind of like a half blue, half red state. And, there's the urban areas where it's a lot more accepted, and then the rural areas where people are like, what is gay?
Does not compute.
It was interesting. It was really interesting. I grew up knowing a few queer people, but then I also grew up knowing homophobes,
Yes.
And it's a little different to Kentucky. I live right outside of one of the big cities, so it's not too different, but there's definitely a little more red here.
A little more, who's the big senator from Kentucky?
Mr. McConnell.
Yes. Yeah. The turtle demon himself.
Turtle fish face.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell.
Which, I'm so sorry, Loki. First of all,
I did not vote for him.
I know that of course, I know that you didn't, but oh my gosh, I can't imagine what it's like living at ground zero, at Mitch McConnell ground zero. Especially whenever, the person running against him was clearly like way more qualified, just a way better person. But you know what? Now we get the pleasure of saying Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. His powers have been sapped away
Yep.
And the darkness hopefully will not return anytime soon.
I don't think after the stuff he pulled with the whole stimulus thing, I don't think he'll be back in office after the next election.
I would certainly hope not. I would certainly hope not.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you end up in Kentucky?
My grandma took a trip down here to visit some historical sites and Mammoth Cave about 20 something years ago. And she just really loved the area. And, you know, we were all kind of getting tired of the Wisconsin landscape. And so we decided to pack it up and hitch a ride down here after I finished 8th grade to make it a little easier for a transition into high school. And, you know, we started settling down in this lovely city we're in.
So was there a lot of hesitation for you? Were you excited? Were you nervous?
I was a little bit of both. You know, I was excited to make a fresh start because I thought I was like, I screwed everything up, you know, and I was like, all right, fresh start, let's go. But I was also like, maybe I'll get hate crimed. Yikes.
Right, like, you know, like this is the birthplace of KFC. They obviously have really good food. There's, you know, the horse racing. And then there's meth and hate crimes. So, you know.
Yeah, there is meth and hate crimes.
So, yeah, what did you kind of have like a fish out of water experience when you first got here?
Yeah. A big perpetrator of that was my accent. That northern accent, I said things a little differently. Like instead of bag, we said bag, and for some reason that was like a big problem with everyone. And so I quickly learned to say bag. And they call them water fountains here. Up there we call them bubblers.
What? Okay, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up there we call like the drinking fountains. They're bubblers.
That's cute. That's awful cute. So, okay, here's the thing. So you entered into high school, you know, in the application, in the guest application that you sent me, you mentioned how you had become heavily involved in the FFA, which audience, if you don't know, the FFA is the Future Farmers of America, which if you live in the South, there is a Future Farmers of America somewhere in your high school, big or small, probably big. Which of course, you know, obviously Kentucky has a lot of farming, and you know, Wisconsin, I'm sure with all of the dairy industry in Wisconsin, you're no stranger to farming either. But where did that drive to really jump into the FFA come for you?
It started in sophomore year when I started taking intro to animal science. You know, I grew up breeding cats and showing them, and you know, I grew up around I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up, you know, around a lot of farms. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I really like animals. You know, I'm going to deal with them a lot in my life.
Right.
Why not take these classes? And our FFA chapter did this thing where the first 40 students to sign up and pay their dues would get t-shirts, and they'd get to go to the county fair. Well, everyone got t-shirts, but the first 40 would get to go to the county fair for free. All you had to do was, you know, pay for food and the rides and games and stuff. So I was like, okay, why not? Because the teacher had also talked about like the different perks and stuff of it, like the activities and the field trips, and you know, we got a lot of food. There was a lot of food involved. And you know, I wasn't too active sophomore year, and then junior year I got a little more active. I started doing a couple of the competitions, and I started getting more involved with the events. And then senior year was where I like really stepped it up. I was doing the veterinary science. I was doing parliamentary procedure. I was doing the speech writing contests I was doing. I was really involved, and then COVID hit.
Like
And
it
then COVID
did.
hit.
Like it did for everybody. Like it did for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, but honestly, my FFA advisor, she is one of my favorite teachers ever. And I still will like go visit her from time to time safely,
Mm-hmm.
when they have in-person schooling and that. I'll go pop in and say hi because my dad works at the school. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, was it a big school? Did you have a big graduating class?
It was a very big school, especially the first few years, because they had just opened a new school. It was the only school in the district until last year when they opened a new school.
Mm-hmm.
But my graduating class was still, I think, 553.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was really big. Um, it's a pretty big school.
That's incredible. Um, neither
Yeah.
of the high schools I went to were terribly big. I don't remember what my graduating class was or would have been if I had stayed at my normal high school, but the art school graduation I went to was maybe like 80 people.
Wow.
Yes. So yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely smaller than 500.
Yeah. My
Um
dad's, I think he said it was like, I think he said it was like 75 in his graduating class in
God.
Wisconsin.
God. Um so I guess like you said, like the transition down here as far as just the hustle and bustle was not necessarily
Hmm.
too much different. You were still in a very highly populated area.
Yeah.
Um so how long had your school had a GSA before you got there? How did you become the leader of the GSA? And what kind of activities and impact did the GSA partake in?
So the school had a GSA, I think, for about like 5 years before I joined. I joined in my sophomore year, and I was just a member. And all 4 years, all we really did was we did like icebreaker activities, we did team building activities, we did crafts, we had some guests come in from like the Toyota factory and that
Mm-hmm.
talk about the queer landscape and that. And I was just a normal member. And then junior year, I ran for, I think, vice president. I lost, unfortunately, but I was like, all right, I'll try again next year, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so senior year came along and I ran for the president and I lost. But then there were two presidents. They were co-presidents. One of them had transferred to the other school,
Uh-huh.
and then the advisor, the teacher that advised it, came up to me and was like, "Hey, I know you personally. I think you'd be a great fit to take over for leader.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." And we actually had a fairly big GSA. I think there were 23 or 25 kids that like regularly attended.
Mm-hmm.
And we had planned a ton of stuff. We were gonna go on field trips and do fundraisers and educational things. And then COVID hit. Yeah, it was crazy.
What was the straight to queer ratio of the attendance?
Uh, there weren't many straight. I think there was one straight person. One or two. There was one time when three of the football kids
Mm-hmm.
ended up going to the GSA, like the straight football kids, like three of them ended up going there. Um, they were there one time, and they were actually like nice about it. They weren't harassed harassing anyone. You know, they were
Mm-hmm.
cool, they were chill, and I think that was the biggest surprise of the year.
So, so also, just in case anybody doesn't know what the GSA is, it's the Gay Straight Alliance. I did not know what one of those was until I went to college, where I actually got a good not a good scholarship. I got a $2,000 a year scholarship for being a minority because I applied at the Gay Straight Alliance. I signed my name. Of course, we would never have anything like that this deep in the Bible Belt. Not at my high school, anyway. I don't know if that has changed since I left, but we certainly did not have it at public high school. In the middle of the woods. So, yeah. So, tell me about the social justice group that you were involved with, and some of the activities that you guys did.
Yeah, so the social justice group was formed, I think it was my junior year. It was formed by a queer Black girl who was also a junior. And, you know, we had started planning things. We were talking about, like, hey, what are things that need to be fixed? And, you know, we started making a list of things that need to be fixed within the school to make it a safer and more comfortable place for minorities. And she ended up graduating early, which is good for her. And the advisor was like, hey, I want you to be the new leader. I was like, all right, cool. And, you know, we started talking about things like the Confederate flag and kids wearing it and, you know, flying it around the school. We talked about, you know, the gender neutral bathrooms and the, you know, some of the big issues like that, and like kids saying racist slurs and homophobic slurs and transphobic slurs. And, you know, we were compiling, like, I guess just like a list of things that needed to be taken care of to make the school a better place. And we had, for Black History Month and Women's History Month, we would go on the announcements every day, and we'd talk about a major figure in those communities. Like we talked about a lot of powerful Black women and other powerful women who a lot of them, like, people didn't know of, but were still very important in history. We talked about mathematicians and Nobel Prize winners and, you know, inventors. And one day we talked about Ellen DeGeneres before it was leaked that she wasn't. Yeah, before all the stuff.
You know.
Yeah.
But haven't we all been a fake bitch at one point or another?
Yeah.
JK, everybody, please don't cancel me. I do not in any way support Ellen's behavior. But yeah. Okay. And I guess one of my big questions, and, you know, this may not have any bearing on you whatsoever, but, you know, a big part of being Southern is the church. What was the difference? Was there an emphasis on religion in Wisconsin compared to Kentucky, and has that affected you in any way?
It wasn't like a huge bearing, like, in the community as a whole, but I was born into quite a religious family. You know, I was born into the evangelical Lutheran
Wisconsin, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Lutherans. We drink grape Kool-Aid for the blood of Christ.
Yeah. It was like Catholicism, but like just like a step down from Catholicism. You know, I have a lot of Catholic family still, but I went to church a lot when I was a kid, and I took confirmation classes in middle school, and, you know, I got confirmed into the church in 8th grade, and we moved down here, and my mom found a church, and we were like heavily pushed into it until a few years ago. Probably, actually, it was about last year when COVID hit. We, to be safe, we stayed away from we kind of stayed away from the church. And I graduated, stopped going to the youth group because, I didn't believe in that, but I didn't want to tell my mom that.
Yeah.
But, I kind of separated myself pretty much. I still keep in touch with my leaders because they were actually, I came out to my youth group and they were like, we absolutely love you. And I was like, thanks. And I cried. But, I'm still friends with my youth group leader on Facebook. So it wasn't too big of a change.
That's actually really great to hear, because I'm sure if you have listened to any of my other episodes, the church in the South can be quite incendiary, quite negative.
Yeah. The youth pastor did a sermon on being gay. He was like, it wasn't the you're an abomination and you're going to hell kind of sermon. It was a little more passive aggressive than that. It was like it was the hate the sin, love the sinner kind of thing.
Yes. Which is one of my big pet peeves whenever I hear somebody say that. Because if you want to hear more about that, go listen to past episodes. But anyway, really glad that you have not been scarred by the church. Really glad that you were still able to truck on through it.
The most scarring thing that happened at the church was they played Amazing Grace every other week, and that song automatically makes me cry. So it was like every other week I was sobbing. Because they would not stop.
I've never heard of anyone under the age of 75 who cries at the sound of Amazing Grace, but
that's what happens when all your friends are old people.
There you go. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll delve deeper into the mind of Loki. And we're back. All right. Me and Loki are good and hydrated, and we have one of the stones from the Avengers movie. I do not remember. What's the blue one? What's the blue one that Loki has?
I think that one was it was the Space Stone, I think.
Yes, but it was called the Tesseract.
Yes, the Tesseract.
Yes. Loki has the Tesseract in their grasp now. Everyone be afraid, their TV series is coming very soon to Disney Plus. So y'all better have that $7 ready for a couple of months so you can watch all of it. So Loki, we talked about your labels before the break. NBLW, agender, demisexual. So here's the thing. Did you realize your full queer identity from the get-go? Did you have an inkling of it? Or was that something that you discovered over time? And what has that been like for you?
It's definitely been an overtime kind of thing. Middle school was when I started realizing I was queer, and I was like going back and forth between all these sexual identities, and and then high school, I started dabbling a little bit into the gender identity in 8th grade, but then high school was when I really started questioning that. I came to terms with being agender, I think, the summer after sophomore year was when I first heard the term agender and was like, wow, that actually is me. Funny that. And then the demisexual identity came about a few months ago when I had my first session with a therapist, and she was like, just to get to know you better, because I had attended a queer workshop with her like the week before. So she knew I was queer. She was like, why don't we do this exercise and I'll show you like, and you'll show me like your attractions and all that. And, I did that. That was cool. And then, and then I was like, so do normal people actually like see people and are like, wow, I want you in my bed. Now let's go. And she was like, no, I think you might be demisexual. I was like, you know what? That is a valid point. Yeah. So that's something I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life. My therapist told me my sexuality.
I was going to say your therapist snatched your wig, as it were. So are there parts of you that you feel like you're still figuring out?
Not really. I think I'm pretty solid in my identity.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's the thing. That's really, really great. As I have said, I've told this story a billion times. I'm not much older than you. I'm only like 7, 8 years older than you, but there's still a huge cultural difference now, and landscape in America than there was, even back, whenever I was your age. I remember whenever I first came out to my friend, my very best friend, and anytime I would come out to anyone before this, I would say, yes, I am bisexual. Even though I'm a big old bottom and I have no attraction to women whatsoever. And so, it was one of those things where it's like, no, Jacob, you're not bisexual. There's no hope that you will ever love a woman. It was not until I was like 19 that I leaned over to that exact same friend at a party and was like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm pretty sure I'm like fully gay. And they were like, yes, I know. But now, now that I'm 26, I was 25 when I really started really having like this not an identity crisis, but this kind of wake up, to the fact that like, okay, maybe I'm also, gender fluid, it used to be like a passing thing before, but now it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, like there are some times when I feel more like a man and there are some times when I feel more like a woman, and I shouldn't have to pick one or the other. So yeah, I'm glad, I guess suffice it to say, it's really inspiring to know that, people who are not the default of heterosexual can have themselves figured out before, the age of 25 or 30 or, any time after that, So how does your identity influence your art, if at all?
I don't. It sometimes influences my art. Sometimes I'll make pieces referring to it or, showing, I guess, the emotion behind it. I think that's kind of what this one here is. For the listeners, it's a purple face with looking into just like this firescape kind of thing. I guess that that kind of, I think that I did that a few months ago. I don't remember exactly what was going through my head, but when I was in middle school, I had a friend he's a trans man, and he didn't come out to his family yet, so we had a code word in case his family went through his phone, and the code word was purple because it's a mixture of the pink and the blue. So, you know, we called transness being purple, you know. So I think that's kind of what influenced that painting. I have one, just a drawing, like a little sketch I did, that was, it's like a vision of what I want to look like, how I envision myself expressing myself, you know. But yeah, it influences my art sometimes, but not exactly all the time. You know.
So what's a current piece that you're working on right now?
Right now, I'm working on a piece for my friend. I do lyric paintings where I take like the vibe of the song or like whatever colors I think go well. And I do like this cool abstract piece, and then I Sharpie the lyrics on top of it. This one I'm doing for my friend is like the NB flag, but it's like really cool, like shift kind of thing. And I'm writing lyrics to a song by Mother Mother on them for them.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk a little bit more about that after we're done recording. So, Loki, you are still a wee babe, and actually, you are my youngest guest to date. So a lot of what we're talking about is not far behind you at all. How does your experience continue to push you forward outside of an environment like high school?
It pushes me forward because I want people who are younger than me to, you know, like to see who I am, how I'm living my best life, and, you know, be inspired to look into themselves about it. And even like people who are older than me, just give them like an inspiration to look into themselves a little more and think about it, you know, and try to live their best life.
Okay. I like that. That is an acceptable answer. So, what's one thing that you love about Kentucky?
I like there are a lot of like stonescapes, and I do photography too. And there are a lot of places where they've like cut into the hills, cut into the mountains, and you see these beautiful like layers of limestone and stuff. And they're like like the water will run down off of it, and in the winter it'll freeze, and it just looks so cool. And you know, the horses, I like animals. I like horses a lot. You know, the horses around here, they're beautiful. You know, the different horticulture, the crops that people plant, the, you know, the gardens that people have, and everything. They're really, I guess, inspiring to my artistic eye.
Okay, hell yeah. And what is the biggest thing that you miss about Wisconsin?
Oof. I miss the lake. I lived right along the coast of Lake Michigan when I lived in Wisconsin. I miss the lake a lot, but it sounds so stereotypical, but I miss the cheese. Because one of the main, like, one of the big things you have to do when you go to Wisconsin is you get fresh cheese curds from there's this one factory I used to go to as a kid every summer, and you watch them make the cheese, and they'd package it, and you could buy it like hours after they made it. And when you got the cheese curds fresh, they'd like squeak when you bit into them. And they were super like rich in flavor, and I really miss that.
God, now you're talking my language. I told you this before, but you know, I have many vices in my life, but my my culinary vice is dairy. You know, cheese, cream, ice cream, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
literally dairy it's going to be the death of me. And thank God I'm not lactose intolerant, but like that is one of my
Hmm.
dreams, is to go to Wisconsin and just try all of the dairy that Wisconsin has
Yeah.
to offer me.
Yeah.
Um so yes, if I was you, I would also miss the cheese. I would definitely miss the cheese. Um
Yeah.
One thing about Kentucky actually that I recently ran a little thing for, because somebody had gotten in contact with me about the conversion therapy in Kentucky, that there's still a huge problem with conversion therapy in Kentucky.
Hmm.
So have you personally known anybody who's had to experience that from around where you live?
I don't. However, like I've seen people's stories from conversion therapy, but I don't believe I know anyone personally who has been forced into that.
That's great. That's great. Well, go follow BanCon Therapy KY on Instagram. Um, you can it's a nonpartisan people-led movement to protect Kentucky's kids from conversion torture. Um,
Hmm.
And yeah, right now they're running a thing where you can sign up for their day of action. They do other philanthropic activities to try to end conversion therapy in Kentucky. So, Loki, if
Hmm.
you want to get involved with that, absolutely, now you know. It's once
Yeah.
again BanCon Therapy KY on Instagram. Um,
Hmm.
and I really hope that it picks up traction. Um,
I do too.
so Usually, I ask my guests a nostalgia question at the end, but since you're so young, Loki,
Hmm.
where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what message do you want to send to future Loki?
So in 5 years, what's that? 2026?
Hmm.
Yeah, I can do math. I don't know. I hope I have, my own place, whether it's an apartment or a house or condo or whatever.
Hmm.
I hope I have my own place, a decent job where I can still do what I love and, live with my girlfriend, hopefully fiance by that point.
Hmm.
Um, you know, with our cats
Mm.
and
Heck
just
yeah.
be living our best lives.
And do you have a message for your future self from your past self?
Message for my future self. Hmm. Just do what you want. Don't 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 let the family hold you back. They
Mm.
try. Don't do it. You
All
know,
right.
you can listen to their advice. Don't hold it as holy words.
Hmm. Well, and you have the distinction now of being a guest who, all the time I'm like, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self anything, well, now future Loki, as long as, we're not living in a nuclear
Hmm.
holocaust in 5 years, you can look back at this podcast and listen to your own words. So
Hmm.
hopefully you don't listen back and think, I was so idealistic, I was just a child, which I don't think you would ever sound like that. God, I hope you never sound like that. But there you go, you get to be the first. You're my youngest guest, and you're also the first to send a message to
Hmm.
the future.
Yeah, to the future.
To the future. So Loki, thank you so much for being with me today. Um, it was it's been such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed just chatting with someone
Hmm.
with such a fresh new Gen Z energy. Um, um, do you have any shout outs, advertisements, or philanthropic opportunities that my audience should know about before we go?
Um, yeah, so if you want to find me on social media, I mostly post, my thoughts and stuff about K-pop. It's at Chaotic Squared on Twitter, and it's at well.pickle.my.cucumbers on Instagram. I'm not super active on Instagram, but I stream on Twitch, which is CatGames15, and I stream on Stereo every Sunday. That's Loki's Elevator. It starts with a K. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, doing some more stuff, getting some more things out there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And new listeners, if you're not following Out in the Woods on social media yet, well, you really should. It's Out in the Woods on Facebook, at ONTW_podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm not very active on Twitter because they don't give me the attention I deserve. And then you can follow, if you want to look and see a little more into your friendly neighborhood host's fun little personal life, you can follow Out in the Woods on TikTok now at JakeyPoo777 on TikTok. Any emails or inquiries you need, you can message me at any of my socials or at ontwpodcast@gmail.com. Loki, thank you so much, and thank you for having me in your art room. I know it's your bedroom, but I get to see all of this art, and it's really, really fantastic. So we'll definitely have to talk again soon, Loki. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.